These guys survived the David Kahn era of Timberwolves basketball and live to tell about it. It's Flagrant Howls.
Kyle, 20-5, my man. 20-5.
You know that new bit I have where I'm running out of things to say, so this might be it for my podcasting career, but I just start tweeting out, like, the Wolves are 20-5, and then, like, the 1993-94 Timberwolves were 20-62. So I'm probably just going to keep doing that. I don't know if anyone likes it, but it is just so crazy to go back and look at their record year by year and just see, like, 20-62, 21-61, all these years, and it's like, oh my God, dude, like, they're matching these win totals of these previous seasons, and it's December 19th. So
it is, I believe, it's the seventh team, I think, in franchise history they've matched the season win total of. And with you running out of superlatives and things to say, I've run out of things to say. Let's find someone else who might have some things to say. Let's bring him in here. Oh, wow. Just a random guy just hanging out here. Craig Kilborn, ladies and gentlemen, from the Life Gorgeous podcast and YouTube channel, which you should like and subscribe to. And lifelong Timberwolves fan.
We're recording. This airs today, doesn't it?
This will be up so we're going to, however long you can hang out with us, and then it'll be posted like 20 minutes after.
That game last night, there's so much to unpack, as we like to say. I mean, the second half, I felt like I was at Mason Margaux having a dinner. I just didn't want to forget that. We talked off air. So that's my guy, David.
It's my favorite restaurant now. It just opened a year ago. Oh.
Yeah.
I love how you come to the Twin Cities and hit like six amazing restaurants, courtside a couple games, then go back to your lavish life in West 75 Hollywood.
And sunny in Los Angeles. But it's Mason Margaux. It's beautiful inside, but I really like the food. I think if you mention Lord Kilby, they give you a free martini, or maybe they'll get you a picture of me with a martini, something like that.
That's what it's an 8x10 is what it is now. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you last night, what are you guys thinking in the first half? Because I'm just majorly disappointed, like we're flat and not sharp. What are you thinking in the first half at Miami?
This kind of dives into, Phil, what we talk about every week, just that scar tissue, Craig, of just, there's still people that don't want to buy into this team yet, that have just had the Charlie Brown football pulled out from under them so many other seasons. But last night, I think they were down 17 at one point in the first.
Yes, first quarter. 12 at halftime, down 12 at halftime.
I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was a little nervous, but I also, as a kind of a degenerate, I've been wanting to see this team get punched in the face a little bit. They haven't had an easy schedule, but
they got choked, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's true. They did play some teams that were down a guy. I mean, the Wolves have been down Jaden or Ant at different times, but I just wanted to see them get punched in the face. I wanted to see a team just grind them into dust a little bit and see how they responded. They looked terrible the first 12 minutes. They looked a little better in the second. And then they're becoming the best third quarter team in the league, which is weird, right? Because we've watched so many seasons where they'll take a lead in the half and then blow it in the third. But I was a little nervous, but I was like, okay, let's see how they respond. And whatever they do at halftime now, whether it be Finchie or Elston Turner or something, they really get on those guys and they come out firing. And in the fourth quarter, it's just they lean on them until they tap out.
I think Luka Garza changes shirts in the locker room.
He looked so good last night. That thing was pressed.
The tight pants and the slender. Oh boy, he's not going to Mason Margaux anytime soon.
No, this, by the way, new stat for you guys, and they didn't get to do it last night. But the Luka, is there like a alliteration we can use? It's games that Luka Garza comes in where you know that you've played so well in the third quarter, you've got your 15, 20 point lead. He's played in 5 of the 25 games so far, and those are 5 games that are blowouts.
Garza games?
I guess Garza games.
There's your alliteration. He's like a human Victory Cigarza.
Basically.
Oh, there you go, right there.
Fun it up.
Victory
there you
Cigarza.
Go. The Cigarza games.
So I was nervous yesterday, just like I'll be nervous for Philly tomorrow. But I know Jason Jackson. He was the radio play-by-play man in the Miami Heat. And I worked with him at ESPN, and he texted me in the afternoon and said, should be a fun dance tonight. And all I'm worried about is Jimmy Butler. And I said, I hope Butler doesn't pull a Draymond. And he assumed his response was nothing but love, COVID spreading Frenchman. So he was referring to Rudy. And I'm like, I don't want, a hard foul by Jimmy on Cat or on Ant. That's what concerns me. Because Jimmy is, pugilist I'm not a fan of Butler, but he kind of he did disappear. I mean, he disappeared in the second half.
He did, and Johnny K wrote a great piece in the Athletic, by the way, and when they made the move for Jimmy Butler 5 years ago, I was a little hesitant, like, wow, they're kind of cutting off this young nucleus to try and win now in the middle of a Warriors dynasty, and Kevin Durant still on that team. It felt like they were at best sort of just capping their upside. But then it's like, okay, well, at least Karl-Anthony Towns gets the hard-nosed sort of ball handling, but can also be the scorer late in the game, the guard. And as Johnny K wrote, Anthony Edwards has become maybe even a better version in terms of like a pairing, obviously a better version pairing with Cat. He's what we thought Jimmy Butler was going to be 5 years ago. Yeah. And now they get to align sort of timeline-wise too.
I have some stats I want to tell you about Ant, but remember when Rudy made that block on Bama? You're going to say which one, but the emphatic one where there's a loose ball at the top of the key, and and Butler's right there, and somehow Ant gets it, and then Ant runs down, and he's faster than a lot of people. He's faster than Butler, and he goes down and dunks. I mean, this guy is so special, Anthony Edwards. And I think I'll do my stat for you guys now. I did some research for you, just for Flagrant Howls.
Are we getting into the Timberwolves stat porn section of the show here? Kilby didn't even know what he was getting into here. We'll make it official. Here is your Timberwolves stat porn of the show.
I like that music. I hear it all. No, I don't hear it all the time.
Well, I just heard that an hour ago. It's crazy.
So, as we know, Anthony Edwards, when he came into the league, was very athletic and very raw. And he's, some of these guys have to work on their jump shooting. They're not pure shooters. So I took the all-time greats. I wasn't going to include Jordan, but I did throw him in there. But I just want to talk about guys that are not pure shooters. Larry Legend's a pure shooter. So you've got these athletic guys like Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, Anthony Edwards, Kobe, and I always thought Michael Jordan I think he's the best jump shooter of that group. So I threw him in there at the end. So one of the things is when you talk about pure shooting, you look at 3-point percentage and free throw percentage. These guys aren't pure shooters, but I wrote down their career stats for 3-point shooting and free throws. Sometimes you can tell when a guy's a pure shooter at the line. So of those guys, who do you think has the highest currently? Some of them have retired, obviously, but what's the highest 3-point percentage? LeBron, Kobe, Dwayne Wade, Ant, and Jordan. Highest 3-point percentage.
It's got to be Ant.
Why do you say that?
It's not Dwayne Wade because he was never a great
Dwayne
3-point
Wade
shooter.
Is last at 29.3%.
And Jordan was low until that's also an era where you thought guys who were great 3-point shooters wound up being like 32% 3-point shooters. Yeah. It took Jordan a while. Jordan is
32.7%. Kobe is 32.9%.
Ant's got to be like 38, right?
LeBron is 34.6%, and Ant is currently 35.5%, which is the highest. For his career, because I think he was like 30 his first year or something like that.
He had that kind of shake, fade away off the glass shot to kind of ice the game. Oh. And there's an edit, Phil, on Twitter where they just mash that up against a Michael Jordan. Same kind of 15-footer shake, right, left, off the glass. And it is spooky. Like, it is spooky to see the mechanics of how the footwork and the jump shot and the release point, they're all very, very, very similar. And that's kind of become Ant's go-to shot now, right? As we joke about it, but he uses that glass. He just gets to his spot.
It's amazing. It's Rudy Tomjanovich all over again. No kidding.
Yep.
Okay, quickly. I'll get rid of this. I just want to do free throw. Who has the highest and lowest free throw of those greats?
LeBron's got to be the lowest.
Correct. 73.5.
Is Kobe the highest?
He is, but barely. 83.7. Jordan 83.5.
Okay.
And Ant is 77.9.
But on the rise with all these, he's better.
That's what I'm saying. He's gonna. We assume he's gonna keep improving as a jump shooter, especially when he watches Cat in practice every day.
Cat, by the way, shooting. What is he? He's He's 50, 43, 91,
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
his percentages.
Okay, what about when he rebounded over Jimmy and lobbed it? I mean, lobbed
He
it to
shouldered
Rudy.
Jimmy. He rebounded over Jimmy, lobbed it to...
Oh, that game was. How many times have you rewatched the fourth quarter?
That game, I
4
tweeted this
times
last
today.
night.
Yeah.
That game added 5 years to my life.
I know it's
It
so
was just
nerve wracking. So
Fountain
nerve
of youth
wracking.
game. Oh,
And you know what I liked? Tyler Hero hit a shot late. I mean, he had right around the top of the key free throw line, cut it to 1. I think this is before Ant's shot. And Finchy was standing, but Finchy didn't flinch. Meaning, instead of going like this, it's like, yeah, we're in a game. We got to match him. We got to match him, and we go down. And our defense is so impressive, but we're all concerned about our execution of our offense, especially late in the game. And I thought it was really good last night.
the not flinching thing. So, first of all, Grady and Jim Pete were 2.5 hours of brilliance on the Bally's.
They probably were
broadcast
closer
last
to the court than they are at Target Center.
They are there.
We need to resolve that ASAP.
I love it. And by the way, they have to walk up. There's not even like an elevator really. So when they get done with the on-court pregame stuff, right? They do the pregame show on the court. They're literally like in their suits. They're walking up like 30
Bill
rows
Walton
of stairs.
cannot do that. Thank God Jim Pete has better wheels than Walton.
Yeah, it is too bad. But those guys were kind of riding the roller coaster like they should for the fans watching at home, and it did feel like the Wolves missed like 6 or 7 layups, and then the Heat are just knocking in these ridiculous like contested shots, and the ones that Rudy wasn't altering or never minding, it was like, high arcing rattles it in. So it did feel like the Heat were getting sort of the better of the rim luck.
Yeah.
And so I love that the broadcasters were riding the roller coaster and, oh my God, come on. But then the Wolves on the other side, like you said, they didn't flinch.
Yeah.
They aren't flinching in these games. And someone brought up the third quarter stat. Here's some more Wolves stat porn for you guys. So last year they were 21st in the NBA in third quarter margin. So they were getting outscored by like 2 points per third quarter. Second in the NBA now, only to the 76ers. I think they came in last night outscoring opponents by like 4.5 points in the third. It was a +6 last night. Yeah. So literally a 7-point or 8-point net turnaround in just the third quarter alone this season.
Yeah. The other thing that's always is concerning is when you need a hoop. I think the Heat did it last night in the end of the second quarter at halftime. Right before half, Ant's going to take the last shot. And then with like 5 seconds left, they just go over and double team him. And then he has to kick it to somebody. And then we didn't get off a good shot. But I listened to Spoelstra after the game, and he says, they ran different things. And, sometimes we can double Anthony Edwards, other times we can't. Because, when he backed down there was another, Bam came over, but then he moved back because Rudy was going to go into the basket for a lob. And, we'll see how it unfolds when close games, but you can take the ball out of Ant's hands as you could take it out of Damian Lillard's hands. And, Dwayne Wade, you double team him. So we'll see how that unfolds. But that was one of my favorite wins of all time last night. I mean, plus the Butler thing he's such an irritant.
Oh, my gosh. Is it?
I've got a couple other stats for you since you keep bringing them up, Phil, but these are all from Alan Horton. The Wolves are now a league best 8-1 in clutch time this season.
Yeah.
They're
Talk dirty, Kyle.
57.4% clutch field goal percentage ranks
Change
first.
my lighting.
I'll just keep firing them. Anthony Edwards, 60% clutch field goal percentage, 5th in the NBA. And then I'm going to wait till Craig dims the lights a little bit because I want to ask Craig a follow-up on this. Minnesota is 68-48, which is a 59% winning percentage in the clutch since Chris Finch took over. So, Craig, I'm going to throw this back to you because we ask you every time just for an update. 1 to 10, how much of a fan are you of Chris Finch? What is your favorite Finch thing? Last night he was a little spicy getting that technical, but what's your overall thoughts on just Finch and how he's managing this team?
Oh, I think he's doing the best coaching of his life probably. There was heat on him last year because everyone was kind of disappointed, and you had some, the fighting with the Rudy and everything, and I think he's doing a great job. I think he's, and I hear what I hear when Ant says, Coach was pretty intense at halftime, or and coach talks about, we talk about being responsible. We talk about maturity. We talk about all this stuff. Now they're focusing on, let's try to get off to a better start, because they got spanked in Dallas in the beginning and then they won. And then, at Miami, the slow start. I think Finch, I don't know if Chris Finch can be doing a better job. I wanted to tell you my concerns and then see what, I'm sure you guys have talked about it. So is this going to be our roster after the trade deadline? One of my concerns is always the pure shooter off the bench, because when you saw what happened at Phoenix, there was a back-to-back after the Draymond thing. We got spanked. And, Sacramento shot the lights out at Target Center. Do we need another shooter? But other times I'm saying, let's roll with this group, especially if Naw is going to shoot well and Troy Brown Jr. So what do you think of our current roster going forward before the trade deadline?
I mean, they don't have a lot of flexibility, right? Despite being really, really good, they're kind of locked in. They can't trade any future firsts or whatever. They can dangle some seconds. But I'm with Craig. You look at the box score last night, when Finch wants to win a game, he plays 8. He doesn't really go to 9.
Right.
So last night,
Shake Milton was a DNP CD, right?
And
last night.
Troy Brown was 5 minutes and hit a big 3.
Yeah, and Jordan McLaughlin's kind of buried on the bench too. So where are you going to improve, right? Like, it costs something to get something. So are you going to dangle Kyle Anderson and his $9 or $10 million contract that expires? Probably not. He's too valuable. Right. But then it's like, well, what position are you going to cut into? You're not going to take minutes away from Nas. You're not going to take minutes away from Nikhil. So I'm with Craig. I think this is kind of the roster you'll see for the whole season. But for the first time in, I don't know, Craig, 35 years, they're probably going to be an enticing market for buyout guys, like guys that are trying to chase a ring. You might see after.
Oh, that's a great point.
So that might be where they get a guy to spruce up the benches. Someone gets bought out from a bad team, and then they sign with Minnesota for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say for pretty much every Timberwolves season in our lifetimes, except maybe the Western Conference Finals team.
Yeah.
The teams that are competitive or trying to make the playoffs, or teams like last year where they're at least a play-in team. You're looking to see, okay, how can they make this move or that move, trade deadline or otherwise, to become a contender in the Western Conference. I think what you have to be careful of with this team is maybe there's a little regression as they play out the tougher stretch of the schedule. They're also 3-1 during the tough stretch of the schedule, but they already are one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the NBA. I'll give Denver, maybe the Wolves finish with a better record than Denver. The West still goes through Denver. So as you're looking, you got to be careful about not upsetting the thing and the reasons why you're 20-5 and the reasons why you might be a number 1 seed. But I'd also be looking for, planning ahead for a 7-game series. If you run into Phoenix, if you have to run into a Pelicans team that's fully stocked, is this the right collection? If Shake Milton's not a guy that's in your rotation in a playoff series, who can take some minutes, who can you trade for?
Yeah. So a few weeks ago, I was like, I'm concerned about certain matchups in the playoffs, and I'm jumping to the playoffs. And then I said, chill out and enjoy this season. Just enjoy the regular season.
It's December.
But it is a thing where sometimes I see talent. Like I dream that we get to the finals against Boston. I know they have some scorers,
Yeah.
We got to be so these guys like Naw have to keep shooting well, and Jaden McDaniels has to keep shooting well. And thank God Nas can score off the bench, going to the hoop, and he's hitting threes. But sometimes I look at talent and I said, God, the Clippers, I don't understand this team. They have so much talent. Why aren't they winning? What have they won, 8 or 9 in a row?
Yeah. Harden hit 8 threes last night.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't played them yet, but listen, we're there. We'll see how it unfolds. It's a long ways off the playoffs. But I think that our defense is great, and the chemistry keeps building. I think Mike Conley is playing so well. He's hitting the 3-pointer. He's shooting 42% on threes. It's just amazing. It's a really fun team. I have the I don't miss D'Lo t-shirts ready to sell. What did you think? Let me ask you, what do you think of Troy Brown Jr.? Because I really like him. He's a little better than I thought. There was a guy, he works at ESPN and he covers the Lakers, and he said, he was awful last year for the Lakers,
McMenamin
Jr. Yeah, exactly. And it's we lost Taurean Prince. I don't know about Taurean. He can play. I don't know about his attitude sometimes. But what do you think of Troy Brown Jr., losing Taurean and getting Troy Brown Jr.?
I mean, I like it. I think Troy Brown Jr. is at the end of the day, I think he's going to be a better 3-point shooter, and also a guy that you don't. I feel like there is a guilt factor of if you felt like Taurean Prince shouldn't play in a certain game or a certain stretch. It's like he's Taurean Prince. He's one of your team leaders.
Right.
You can kind of, like with Troy Brown Jr. and even with Shake Milton, you can kind of be like, all right, you were hot for a couple weeks, but you know what? It's not really a Troy Brown Jr. game, so you're going to play 5 minutes. So I almost feel like he fits better in that role. And listen, he's shooting 39% from 3. If he's going to be, and he's going to be open. He's playing off of Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. He's going to get open looks.
Yeah.
So if he can knock down 37 to 40% of his threes, 10 to 15 minutes a game.
Right.
I like him.
You have the stats in front of you. Is that what you're doing? Mm-hmm. What's Naw shooting from 3?
37%.
Wow. Good for him.
You'll take that.
I always think that's a bonus, but he's worked on his George Gervin-like shot. The form is like Gervin. He's not as good as Gervin. I didn't say that.
I do like the Troy rebounds too, Craig.
He does.
He really digs in, and he's not going to get you 10 rebounds, but he'll get some of those scrappy rebounds. So I'm with you, though, in a larger sense. This team does lack shooting. Even with Karl and Ant and Mike shooting so well, you can never have enough shooting off the bench. So that's one topic I would want to address prior to the deadline or the buyout market is if you lose a Mike Conley for a playoff game or something, the dynamics and the hierarchy kind of get weird, and you don't have a lot of shooting off the bench still because Shake Milton never really clicked.
Well, and Kyle Anderson was never a sniper shooter,
but now he
has completely stopped shooting threes. There was a possession last night where the Wolves, I can't remember how it started, but the Wolves got the heat in the spin cycle, and it was like bang, 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 and there's poor Kyle Anderson on the wing, and it's like the ball is yours. It's time to shoot a 3, and he starts to load up slowly, and he's like, nope, not feeling it, and he continues the possession. So but he's such a great zone buster, and and you can put him on multiple different offensive players. So
you're not taking him out. The other day. He's every season he strips Luka off the dribble. I mean, it's just great. I like our chemistry. I tell you what bothers me the most but this is in general in basketball. I'm not a big fan of turnovers, and we get sloppy sometimes with the ball. You know what I'm saying? Although I was a little surprised that last night, I don't like to have as a team over 12 turnovers. We had 14, but I think we had 11 in the first half. So we really cut down. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, that's the thing. This team has a level to it where they can give up 60 points in the first half and then give up 39 in the second. Yeah. They can turn the ball over 11 times in the first half and then turn it over 3 times in the second half. So it's one of the rare Wolves teams that has a switch to flip. Yeah. We talked about the Lakers for all these years. They'll just flip the switch. All the LeBron teams, just the Wolves have a switch they can flip, and
I have an opinion on that. You can't play intense defense for 48 minutes, can you?
Right.
I mean,
for 82 games, it's tough.
I mean, and then they, Rudy said, we had to get more physical in the second half and start playing defense, and they got on me, and they, and then Rudy was so active. I've never seen Bam Adebayo struggle like that to get a shot off. I might have to watch it a 5th time when we're done here. That fourth quarter, that was joyous, wasn't it?
It was, man. It was. Was that okay? I know it just happened last night, and Craig, you already said that was one of your favorite Wolves games in history. But if we can take a deep breath and have a little perspective here, was that one of the 10 best regular season Timberwolves games in franchise history?
I mean, Rashad McCann scored 27 at the Knicks. And we only lost by 13. No, I'm just kidding. But
there was also the Taurean Prince game against the Knicks
last year. Yeah. Road wins are the sweetest wins. Remember that game? I'll tell you a crazy game because we're playing at Philly on Thursday. Is it Thursday or Wednesday?
Wednesday.
No,
and then at
Wednesday.
Home against the Lakers.
Lakers. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
We also have a back-to-back at the end of a road trip. We go fly up to Boston. That'll be... I don't think we're great back-to-back. Ant doesn't play well back-to-back, and I think the big guys have trouble. Those sometimes might be scheduled losses. But remember that game a couple years ago, or maybe it was last year, at Philly when Cat wasn't playing or fouled out or something, and D'Lo had 36 or double overtime at Philly?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
was-
brought back Embiid that night, right? The Sixers
Yeah,
brought back, I think they brought back Embiid after an injury stretch. After
Yeah.
I think
COVID
it was
or
2 years ago because they remember the night one of the back-to-back they lost in Charlotte against a terrible Charlotte team that's like their bugaboo, and then they're like, oh my god, they're gonna get spanked in Philly, and then that's when D'Lo had the quote of like, everyone thinks it's cute to come back against us, but that was a really good win because that was an overtime win. I think you're right, Craig. So
Yeah, 2 years ago. I
Yep.
just know Mark Laurie was there, so it was.
okay,
Yeah, it was when they first started as the minority owners. But no, it's amazing. I'm trying to think. Last night's game, we matched them. How about that bounce that Bam's shot got when it went in? I mean, did you remember that? That's like, come on.
Phil, you said this earlier. 7 missed like bunnies around the rim. That was like
First
in the
half,
first
though,
quarter,
right?
Right.
Yeah,
I
first
felt
quarter,
like there
yeah.
was 14 in and out just layup putbacks. It's just like, oh my god, and then it would be a killer, right? Because then Miami would come down and hit a 3 or get a bucket. And it was like a 4 or 5 point swing. But I think to answer your question, on my opinion, like I think it was one of the 10 most memorable wins because you would have been okay if they lost last night, right? You'd have been like, that Miami Heat team, they're in the finals, they have that pedigree, there might be a step above. And you could have just written it off, and it's like, nope. Every time this team gets punched in the mouth so far, they find a way to punch back and kind
With
of
the
knock you out.
Heat culture logo mid-court, by the way.
Oh my god, those jerseys were
about that?
so bad.
I
The
was
court's bad.
I was most concerned because Butler scares me. He's crazy sometimes. Why hasn't he played against the Wolves? He just doesn't want it, right? I mean, somebody told me he doesn't want to play against Ant. They told me that last summer.
After Ant kind of
They're
punked him.
8-2.
Yeah.
The Wolves are 8-2 against the Heat
Yeah.
since Jimmy signed there, and 4-1 against Jimmy specifically. I think 5 of those games he's sat out or whatever. But they have their number. So when he said you can't win without me,
Yeah.
the irony is that they sure can win without him.
Who had that tweet about third stringers? Was that?
That was our guy
That one-
Kyle here.
Phil and Craig, that might have been me. But again, Craig, if you don't know this, I drink a lot of wine during these games, and I just start ripping things off after the buzzer. So I got to ask you though, because Craig, we talk about this when you're not here, and we'll talk about it now. Like, you are historically and currently still one of the funniest people we know. You guys all watched the Wolves broadcast last night. So what are your opinions? You've said you like Finch. What are your opinions on Micah Nori, who might be the funniest
Right.
assistant coach in the league right now?
Well, it's nice that he's getting all the attention. He's a great guy. No, he has a great personality. I'm not as wrapped up into it. I don't watch Ted Lasso. I tried to. I'll just rewatch Frasier, but not the new one. But
Wow, he'll be out on Ted Lasso. That's the headline for this
I know.
episode.
I tried to watch it. I know it's positive, which I like. But they're different shows. But I don't watch a lot of pregame or halftime or studio shows, like Barkley and Ernie Johnson are the greatest. I don't watch a lot of those because I watch so much of the game action. But Micah's great. And Jim Pete did a shout out to Ryan Russillo. And then Russillo, I texted with Ryan after the game. So he loves Ant. That's his favorite player. He says, I was pulling for him. I was pulling for the Wolves. I really like this. And, he mocked Jimmy. I think he said Jimmy took one shot in the fourth, the 3-pointer or something, but he was absent in the fourth. So it's a long way to answer your question. I did want to, you asked me a question. Why? What do you think about Finch? How do you think coaches do it?
I'm probably the most pro Finch guy there is.
Okay.
But I also you can pick your brain on this too. Like, having a show and having a team of people around you. I just like his personality and how he does stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
X's and O's, I'm still always learning more and, learning from Jim, learning from Alan Horton. But from a personality standpoint and how he controls that locker room and the way he has relationships with each guy and he cuts it to him straight. Troy Brown was raved about Finch, and he told me I'm not going to play right away because we're too deep, and then just stay ready to, hop in if a guy gets injured. So I just like the way he manages personalities. In 2023, those egos and all that stuff and the politics of contracts, he knows how to manage it all. He's a good manager, right? He's a good leader. So
yeah, he's a nice guy, which is surprising because he's from the Philadelphia area. We know how unsavory the fans are there. I don't use the word low rent or low class for Eagles and Sixer fans.
Center. He's throwing full cans of beer at fans' heads when they're walking in. You guys probably don't see that. Yeah.
I mean, how do you guys? Oh, are we allowed to talk Vikings or not?
Yeah. I mean, let's save some time. Do you have 10 more minutes? Are you good?
I've got 10 before the massage.
Okay, that's good. So, okay, on the Wolves front, just back to a couple of threads here. Number one, I thought that the Heat, I'm just putting pins in some of the things we're talking about. I think, you know how you guys have seen Fight Club, where the first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club?
Yeah.
I feel like the Heat putting Heat culture on their uniforms and on the court,
That's
they've
hilarious.
officially like jumped the shark, and they've now, like, the first rule of Heat culture is don't talk about Heat culture. And now they're like using it as a marketing, they're like selling jerseys. It's becoming like a trademarked merchandise money hawk.
It's like
you know?
making a T-shirt. Ant is sometimes Jordan-esque.
Right. I love it. Yeah, don't compare it to Michael Jordan. Could he guard you? No, he could not guard me. It's great. On the Finch front too, just like players in pretty much any sport will tell you, they just want coaches and front offices to be honest with them.
Yeah.
You know, you guys saw, speaking of the Vikings, so Jake Browning, the backup quarterback, the Vikings kept Sean Mannion over Jake Browning, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. And that's been stuck in his head. Not that they made the decision to pass him over for another backup quarterback. It was the way that they sort of lied to him.
Right.
That, hey,
right.
I'm sitting in my hotel room. You told me I was going to be on the practice squad. Then you ghosted me for 10 hours and my agent, calls you back. If they would have been honest with Jake Browning, then he doesn't hold the grudge, and maybe he doesn't maybe he doesn't have as much, fire in his belly to beat. But that's where Finch comes in. Finch, whether it's Anthony Edwards or Troy Brown or Karl-Anthony Towns or Rudy Gobert, it feels like he has the credibility to go up to players and say, hey, you're doing this wrong. Or, hey, we need to clean this up. And they respect him for it. He has a great way of approaching those conversations.
I think he's doing. I can tell that he's communicating more and probably coaching more. It just seems when I hear about some of the halftime speeches or what he says in the post game, where we're working on this and we're telling this or we're emphasizing this, it seems like he's coaching up more. I saw on Purple Daily or Scoop is when Doogie
Two
is
great
on.
shows, by the way. Great
When
shows.
Doogie is on, is that still Purple Daily when Doogie is on when he does
No,
Scoop?
so Doogie is his own separate entity under the SKOR North umbrella. But you
What's
can
that
find,
called then? What's that
We've
show
got
called?
Minnesota Sports with Mackey and Judd,
Right.
and then you can also find it on the SKOR North YouTube channel.
So anywho, I didn't get an answer to my question, but I don't know if it was Purple Daily that he's on. But Doogie's on with his Scoop, and he a while back, I thought he said, yeah, Glenn Taylor told at the end of the season, Glenn Taylor told Chris Finch, you got to improve, coach. Like he said that to him is what Doogie said. And because there's pressure on the Wolves, and they made the big trade. My whole thing was before the season, I said, okay, we saw how we played against Denver. We have something here. And I don't see a juggernaut in the NBA. I want to finish fourth in the West. That was my goal before the season, still is, because you don't know how it's going to unfold and how tight it might get. And this is the other weird thing. If we're allowed to talk about the Wolves winning a championship, if we're allowed to even go there, my attitude is when KG got traded to Boston, they had the big three with Ray Allen and Paul Pierce, and everyone was like, this could be a good team. And some people said, if you're going to win it now. Win it now, win it now. And if the Wolves are going to win a championship, win it this year. Mike Conley is playing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because we don't know what's going to happen next year.
Gobert is right on the age. Yeah,
Yes, exactly. If you're going to win it, okay.
Now, if they fall from the 1 seed to the 4 seed, would you fire Finch, end of the year to spark the team, or would you wait until the offseason? No, I'm just kidding. No, fire Finch.
We're off to a great start. And one of the things is we've been fortunate with the, we played we beat Denver and Boston at home, and they were on a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And there was another game where someone was missing, and I can't remember what it was. But anyways, so we've been kind of fortunate with the schedule. Well, now it's just brutal, and we're doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, man. But the championship thing. I mean, just to throw the question out, Kyle, you first here. Percentage chance if they run this season 100 times in a simulation, how many times out of 100? Percentage chance the Wolves win the championship if they stay healthy.
8 to 10. And I think that's actually a really good, healthy, big number, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's still the Minnesota Timberwolves, Phil. Like, it's still, there's that scar tissue. There's that ability for them to just have the floor completely wash out from underneath them. But this is a real team. And Craig's right. Like, they've had some injury luck in terms of opponents. They've had some schedule luck. Their schedule gets a little wonkier here for the rest of December. But last night was kind of one of those games you just didn't really expect them to win. And they're doing it not by out shooting teams. Their offense still has some work to do, but that defense, that's how you win playoff rounds and games in January and February when it's really cold, is you just bring your defense anywhere you go. And that defense is, the defense is now starting to get to like historic levels. It's not just, they're the best in the league. It's like they're the best in the last 5 years. So I would give them an 8 to 10% chance right now to win it all. Craig's going to go way higher.
Well, I was going to, I'm saying higher. I don't believe, I'm one of those guys that doesn't believe in scar tissue with the Wolves.
I like that.
Yeah, be happy, smile, put a smile on your face.
Dude, by the way, ESPN, so they're updating this every day. They're like, they have a basketball power index. I don't know what that entails, but they do have the Wolves at a 7% chance to win the whole thing, a 17% chance to get to the finals. The only Western Conference team that's above the Wolves, so it's Boston, Milwaukee, Philadelphia are the three most likely champions. The Clippers are the only team above the Wolves now that they've sort of caught fire.
Oh, wow.
And they're at a 13% chance to win the title. Interesting.
There's no way the Clippers win the title.
There's no way. There's just, it's not, they don't have the chemistry. They have the talent. It's just the basketball gods would never allow it.
Right.
They would allow the Wolves to win it before they would allow the Clippers to win it, I feel like, the basketball gods.
Nickeil Alexander-Walker surprises me because he'll throw some crazy passes and he'll throw some great passes, but he made those free throws pretty easily last night. I mean, when Jaden fouls out, I'm like, okay, Naw comes in. Who cares? Like
that's what I was thinking too. And like Nickeil is the leader in the clubhouse for making Finch's hair grow gray or grayer.
Right.
When Nickeil does something crazy, like you said, you just look at Finch and Finch is just rolling his eyes. But I think he loves him. He gives him a long leash out there. But his shot's never going to look normal. But that's fine. Like there's just guys in the league that don't have great form. Right. But Nickeil is such a confidence guy. Like when it's running for him, he's doing behind the back passes. He's just taking these weird step back threes, and he's been integral. Because like you said, Craig, when Jaden goes out, you just next man up, and Nickeil's not as long or as big, but he can get into any guard out there and basically pick him up full court, and it's really awesome.
Let's enjoy the regular season and not worry about the playoffs yet. I'm speaking to myself.
I was going to say, I feel like that's like a self-therapy session there for you. Hey, Kilby, think about your hottest Vikings take while I tell the audience about popped corn. Over 80 flavors of small batch popcorn to make your holiday or even just like any time of year gift giving pop. So some of the flavors here, wow, Southwest hot wing. I had some of the dill pickle flavor the other day. There's like a salt and cracked pepper situation that was fantastic. Parmesan garlic. Somebody at the office had some Parmesan garlic, and it's mac and cheese barbecue chipotle. Popcorn also has tins for Vikings, Gophers, Twins, Wild, Timberwolves, and other professional teams. Order online at poppedcorn.com. That's POPPED corn.com, poppedcorn.com.
Can I make a comment? I listened to most of that. I was answering texts and thinking about my Viking take, doing my homework for you guys.
For sure.
I have told people publicly that I don't have a sweet tooth. And I like savory over sweet. People know that I like cheese. And my guilty pleasure is a bag of white cheddar popcorn. Did you just say, what did you say for the flavors? You said cheese or you said white cheddar or what did you say?
So there are over 80 flavors available at popcorn.com. But the ones I listed were Southwest hot wing, barbecue chipotle. There's a mac and cheese flavor. There's spicy dill pickle or regular dill pickle.
Oh, wow.
Parmesan and garlic.
That's me.
Might have to send a tin to
Lord
Kilby,
this little Christmas gift here. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Ross just chimed in and said there's a Cinnamon Toast Crunch flavor. So that would be
Roscoe.
A little salt and sweet.
He's clapping in the background. Yeah, let's go. Cereal flavors.
A couple thing on the Vikings. I just, because you guys do a great job, the Purple Daily people. And Judd takes it seriously. I like that. And I appreciate that. I think he said something recently. So it's an adventure with Nick Mullins, obviously. Sometimes when I see these quarterbacks, I go, oh, his feet are a little quicker than Kirk's in the pocket. You know, he's a little quicker.
A little more nervous, skittish, a little more.
But and the two touchdowns, were I don't know if they were both ill-advised. I can't believe KOC called a pass when they after Ty ran down there to the one, and then he calls a pass and he rolls to the right and throws it up for grabs, and Jordan Addison gets it. But I don't know if we're going to make the playoffs. I so enjoy watching the team play and the Flores defense until the fourth quarter. But why? If we make why did Judd say Jaron Hall? Kevin O'Connell, he wants to make the playoffs. It's good for him. It's just good. It's good. The owners want to.
Yeah.
So you obviously have to go with Nick Mullins because you don't know what Jaron Hall is all about. Or
do they know that Nick Mullins is going to sabotage you with 4 of the dumbest plays you've ever seen in your life watching football, causing you to lose the last 4 games and get a 10th overall draft pick?
Remember that pass he threw left sideline to Justin Jefferson in the crowd, and JJ caught it and was really fired up? That's a Kirk kind of pass. I mean, he moves the offense. He does. I think he takes chances. Obviously, he's got.
Yeah, I think dropping back and then throwing the ball down into the belly of a defensive tackle that's one hell of a chance to take there.
Right, take a sack. But do you guys loathe him, or what is your take on him? If you wanted to make the playoffs, who would you play? Jaron Hall? You don't even know what he's going to do.
I want to hear Kyle. What is your 3.5 glasses of red wine take when watching Vikings backup?
That's how it was on Saturday, Phil, watching Bengals Vikings in Seattle. I'm always blown away. I always say this, Craig, is like we cover these teams, we follow them, we love them, we know people, but we still only see like 5% of the whole picture. So when everyone's like, "Why wouldn't you start Jaron Hall?" Like what they see him at practice every day. Right. Like KOC, like we saw Jaron Hall for a half against the Falcons. Yeah. KOC sees him every day in the building.
Right.
So I would imagine that, they're not just basing this off of a coin flip. They're like, we watch Nick and Jaron play quarterback 6 other days a week when you don't, and Nick gives us the best chance. When you lose Kirk, as much as this might pain old Phil is pro Kirk now, but you're just going to have to, bargain bin shopping at this point.
Right.
All the options are bad. Dobbs, Hall, Mullins, but I do think Mullins kind of has the most stability, and he made some good throws in that game. But man, that interception when he was on essentially a defensive tackle and he just kind of handed it to him like a Christmas gift, that was one of the worst plays I've ever seen.
Like, my arm was going forward. The refs are like, "That's why it's an interception,
not a fumble."
It's an adventure. He's a bit of a gunslinger, I guess. I don't know, but how good is Ty Chandler?
Oh.
Well, that's, to me, now, a couple things. You've just hit on the number one criticism of Kevin O'Connell.
Yep.
And I say that with nuance because I think Kevin O'Connell has done largely a wonderful job the first 2 years. But the amount of people after that loss to the Bengals that either want him fired straight up or want him on a hot seat, and they say, okay, there's room for 2 things here. Number one, big picture-wise, he's 20-11 in the regular season with one of the worst defenses in the league last year. He fixed that overnight. Okay, I made a mistake with Donatel. Let's get off it early. Let me hire Brian Flores. Corrected. And then this year, he's 500 with backup quarterbacks playing for half the year. But the Ty Chandler thing, that was a first guess, I feel like. It's one of the rare times where we've been right about something in tandem lately on Purple Daily, where, okay, this guy runs a 4.3 40-yard dash. You watch him in practice, he's clearly more explosive. Then you watch him in the limited, action he gets in the games, and sure enough, he gets unleashed for the first time, and he has the best performance by a running back in like 2 years for the Vikings. So I don't know what they were looking at, but it was kind of blind loyalty to Alexander Madison, who, I'm not saying he should be off the team, but how about putting him back in that backup role that he's been comfortable with for 4 years?
Yeah, I like KOC. I think he's great, but he really needs to work on the play calling. I mean, it's bothersome.
Are you out on the back-to-back tush pushes?
Yeah, that's a complete waste of time. I thought that we could have beaten the Chargers at home, call a timeout. Some bad calls with Denver. Too many mistakes. You get too cutesy sometimes, and I guess he likes passing. He really likes passing, but they're fun to watch, man. I mean, that's not. I always think road games are so tough. So I was impressed with Nick Mullins, even though he completely screwed up. It's just that he's a pocket passer. You know what this has taught me, Phil? I like pocket passers. You got to have the ability to run. I don't know if Justin Fields is the answer for Chicago. I want a more athletic Kirk Cousins, obviously.
Yes.
And I hope we draft somebody.
It starts with that.
Yeah, I hope we draft somebody this year. I mean, that's the plan. Trade up. How come, Phil? Because you say, if we lose out, we get a top 10 pick.
Craig sounds like my Twitter mentions right now.
Hey, Craig
all
sounds like
caps.
a
Hey,
backline.
Phil,
Why can't- but why-
Mackey, you
but why-
outkicked your coverage, Mackey.
How can the
That's
Chicago
personal.
Bears trade too much to get Mitchell Trubisky and trade up again to get Justin Fields? Why can't we trade up to get a quarterback in the top 10? Why do we have to lose and miss the playoffs to do that?
No, that very well. Now there is a mock draft today. We did this on Purple Daily from the 33rd team, which is like a bunch of former, like Rick Spielman and some Mike Tannenbaum, where they do a bunch of scouting and media. And they had the Vikings drafting J.J. McCarthy, the Michigan quarterback, as the 5th quarterback off the board at 20.
Oh,
would you
20.
you rather take the 4th or 5th quarterback off the board, but in your slot, so you're not giving up a future first-round pick to move up on a guy that might be a Mitch Trubisky? That's the risk.
I would rather take Darius Garland and Jarrett Culver. That's what I want.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, who is it they want? What quarterback do they want, and get that guy? In other words, you may have to trade up to get the 4th quarterback or the 3rd quarterback.
I think they want Kirk Cousins back.
Well, that's fine. No, that's fine, because you can let the guy. Aaron Rodgers sat. You can let the guy sit for a year or two, but let me protect and defend Phil Mackey.
Thank you.
His issue with Kirk was usually the contract, top 15 quarterback paid top 5. Mm-hmm. And he also doesn't like his Christianity. But other than that,
that is wildly inappropriate. As a man who grew up Irish Catholic with my rosaries, and
but Kirk is. We appreciate his accuracy. He was playing at great. I think they should bring him back, but they have to. In my opinion, you have to draft this year a franchise quarterback that you hope is a franchise quarterback, because it's such a deep draft, and you have to prepare for life without Kirk. But
Here's what I would
But you
love.
re-sign him. Yes, you re-sign
What I
him.
would love is if all parties could agree to this. I think Jaron Hall looks like he's got some juice. You get to stay on board as the 3rd quarterback. Jaron Hall, come on down. So he's on the team. I would say goodbye to Nick Mullins. He's got 1 year left, but you can get out. There's really no penalty for saying goodbye to him. If Pro Football Focus's contract projection from last week was correct, and they're pretty good on this stuff, they have Kirk coming back with either the Vikings or whoever he signs for. 2 years, $60 million, with like the first year pretty much guaranteed, and then you can get out after the first year if you need to. That would put him as the 17th or 18th highest paid quarterback right now, before accounting for like more guys getting
How
ready.
happy are you that he's out of the top 15?
And you can take it, but it's roster building, right? And you can.
Right.
So I get him for 1 more year, and then I can get out if I need to. And now I can draft a guy and sit him for a year behind Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
That's like Nas Reed money.
Yeah.
It pretty much is.
Yeah. I
love it.
I gotta say, we do like 4.5 serious minutes a year on this show, Craig. So unfortunately, we're gonna have you for that. But I have wanted to ask this, and Phil, you can chime in too. But the one serious question I'll ever ask you in 2023. But going back to the Wolves, there was
never inhaled. Ever.
there was Ant was in the news a little bit this week, non-specific stuff. But I'm just curious, legitimately, because we've talked about where you came from and kind of grown up in the Midwest, and now you're out in LA, and just in terms of being a celebrity, as you've kind of made it and taken steps in your career and become, when you met my parents, like my parents loved you way more than they loved me. What advice would you give to a young celebrity, or just like someone who's coming up, and just pitfalls or things to look out for? Just what was your experience like going from, maybe not a no name, but to someone who's a really big name and has a really big presence?
Couple thoughts. There was a guy named Peter Jennings at ABC News, and he pulled me aside once. He did the show, and there was some silliness in late night, and I worked at some weird places where there was power struggles or whatever. But Peter Jennings pulled me aside and said, "Remember, the media, they're not your friends. They're not your friends." you got to be really careful and not trust people. I mean, I'm trying to think here, but I think I was thinking like Tim Connolly. He helped write the post. I assume. I don't think Ant uses the word aligned all the time.
It didn't read like Anthony Edwards'
he didn't
personality.
But that's fine.
Yeah.
But he's a wonderful guy who's full of joy, and he had a rough background. And the other thing, I'll tell you another. I kind of go off on tangents when I answer this. Sometimes I'm just thinking of different things. I remember Bill Murray was on Letterman once, and this was years ago when Tiger Woods came on the scene and was dominating. And he said, Letterman says, "Hey, what do you think of Tiger? Do you know him?" He goes, "Well, yeah. They say when you become famous, you got 3 years to be an asshole." That's what Bill said. And I guess he was saying, Tiger was kind of in the fast lane and, becoming famous, and you're pretty excited. You're not everyone is Kirk Cousins, where you're chilling out, driving the van, wearing the sweaters.
Let's be at Pizza Ranch, guys. Call me if you need me.
So
Before
I think there's someone's going to talk to Ant, more than someone, Finchy and Connolly and Mike Connolly, Bite. Why do you call him Bite? But you got to be disciplined. You got to be careful. And there's some people out there that they want to. It's part of life,
Yeah, this is good. This is good advice for Flagrant Howls as we continue to climb up the Apple podcast
Stay humble.
charts.
I mean, I worry
down.
that Kyle's gonna. You're in Portland, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
So you're gonna just start, demanding the best table, not make reservations, storm out. I'm on Flagrant Howls. I do what I want.
Kyle, you're at Chipotle. Calm down, okay, guy.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
Yeah. So good life advice from
I like that.
from
I
Craig,
appreciate that.
Bill Murray, and Peter Jennings was he used to host that Current Affair show, right? Back in the
I don't know if that was him. I think that was somebody else. Current Affairs was Maury Povich, wasn't it?
was it Povich? Okay.
Yeah. But Peter Jennings was from Canada. He passed away early. I think he was a cigarette smoker, but he was a nice guy. You just got to be careful. And even if you're careful, sometimes it doesn't matter. But it's tricky out there, guys.
Yeah.
Stay strong.
Boy, and you guys, just with how much we packed into 50 minutes here, you guys avoided my trivia challenge of, can you name 6 players on the 1993-94 Timberwolves who this team has now caught with 20 wins? So you guys are lucky. Isaiah Ryder would have been a correct answer.
Ryder. Wait a second. Doug West was there, wasn't he? No?
Yep.
Doug West. Oh,
I
we're
just
doing
looked at this yesterday, so let Craig cook.
I don't think I don't remember all these.
30 years ago, man. It's a long time.
Yeah,
ago.
that's who else was there? Googs was gone. Googs was not there. I don't remember the years.
Googs was not there yet. This is the year before Googs.
Let's see. Randy Brewer.
This was, I think, a little after Randy Brewer. No,
Not
Randy Brewer.
93, 94. Bonus point if you can name the coach of that season.
Jimmy Rogers.
He got fired the year before. Sidney Lowe then took over.
Oh, okay.
And then he got fired for Bill Blair, and then he got fired for Philip Saunders, all within like the next 3 years.
Give me some other names.
Christian Laettner. Oh, you had the big men were just glorious. Stacey King, Luke Longley, and the twilight of Thurl Bailey's career.
Oh, wow.
Former great player with the Jazz in the 80s.
Great player with the Jazz.
Chuck Person, who the Wolves acquired in the Sam Mitchell trade 2 years before with the Pacers.
I don't remember these guys on the Wolves. It's
Michael
amazing.
Williams was
the guard. Michael Williams.
combo guard.
Yeah.
And then, Marlon Maxey, Stanley Jackson, Brian Davis, Andres Giebert, Corey Williams, Tellis Frank, Chris Smith, and Mike Brown. Is that Mike Brown or a different Mike Brown?
Oh, it was no, not that Mike Brown. A different Mike Brown.
Yeah, there's got to be a different Mike Brown.
Might be a couple of them.
So,
in the world,
not gonna work here anymore. So that is how you win 20 games in an NBA season. Like, who are those?
It's a glorious time to be a Wolves fan. It's so exciting.
What do you
think?
Week predictions? What do you think? I mean, I know you don't. They play Philly tomorrow night on Wednesday, but I'm more concerned with your thoughts. Your favorite team against kind of your current hometown team, the Lakers. Wolves Lakers on Thursday, NBA TV. Who do you like?
I'm gonna take the Wolves. It's gonna be tough. I think we need obviously a big bench effort against the Lakers at home. Kind of bothers me that Philly lost at home to Chicago. They're gonna really concentrate tomorrow. I'll take us at home against the Lakers. I have to. It's gonna be tough. Not gonna be easy. Not gonna be easy.
No,
I'm with him.
That might be a Troy Brown game.
Oh,
12
the
points.
revenge.
12 points.
Troy Brown revenge. But it also could be like several revenge games for Lakers players too. It could be like a D'Lo revenge game.
Yeah.
A lot of
Luka
players
Garza
out.
game.
He's such a, I don't know. D'Lo is so comical to me and most of us. He's just like, it's too cool for school. But it's like Mike Conley's. They both went to Ohio State, and Conley's the adult, and D'Lo's the enigma.
Yep.
The Wolves are
careful. The
Wolves
D'Lo
are 32-17 since the D'Lo trade.
There you go. For all you D'Lo defenders that called us idiots for saying, without even including the other assets, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, whatever, this is a great trade for the Wolves. That's right. Back in your face, D'Lo defenders.
In your face.
Never too high, never too D'Lo.
Hey, go to Craig's YouTube channel,
Yes.
The Life Gorgeous podcast, where he talks to luminaries around the sports and entertainment world. Luminaries like Judd and others. Ryan Russillo was on your podcast. Was he on twice? He was on as an early guest.
Yeah, he's been on. He was the very first guest, and then he was on again. He was on twice, and I try to space out the Wolves, the Minnesota people, but because it's supposed to be a national podcast. But I just have fun with it. Talk to some of our writer friends from Family Guy, but talk a lot of Wolves, a lot of Vikings.
Love it.
Yeah, there was one week where it was Peter Schrager, who I'm a big fan of, football guy.
Schrags,
and then the next week it was our guy Dane. So really all over the place with, but the Dane one was really good too. So if you like Dane, go listen to that. But great podcast. I'm glad you're part of the podcast family now with us, Craig.
Amen.
Always a joy to see you guys. And remember, happy holidays. Happy holidays. Mason Margot has a Christmas special.
It is. It's 10% off the Craig
promo
Kilborn
code
Special
Craig.
Martini. Yeah, that's promo code Kilby. So, hey, thanks for coming on here. We'll do it again in the new year as we approach playoff season.
Wolves Pride.
Ooh, put that on a shirt. I like that. Wolves culture. This is your favorite Timberwolves lifestyle podcast, Flagrant Howls.